Okay. All right. So good morning, everybody. Something. Is it like blue? What is that thing? What's happening? I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna try to get this thing taken down. They told us that these were all going to be down, and then here we are. And I don't know what the situation with the projector is, but we'll figure that out too, I guess. Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas. Welcome to Math 10. Welcome to CSU, I guess, if that applies, if this is your like first course. There are syllabi and schedules. Make sure you have a copy of each. There's a lot of stuff here and like you should read it. I think me reading it at you is not all that productive an exercise. So I'm just going to kind of hit some highlights and let you read and let me know if you have questions. The schedule, make sure the one you have says section 6 up at the top. That's us. Just for the only thing that matters for is the final exam date. But okay, so hey, good morning. Grab a syllabus and schedule on your way in. This is all my, vital stat stuff. My office is in Ashby 206. That's where most of the math and computer science faculty are, but that's just upstairs in Ashby. My email is going to be the best way to get a hold of me. This stuff's on the syllabus too, but just so you have it. The phone number there, that's my office phone. If I'm sitting at my desk, that's helpful. If not, it's probably going to be easier to get a hold of me by email. Office hours, just so you know, so it's kind of out there. Office hours in general mean like times that your professor is sort of sitting in their office and available and you can just drop in, right? You don't like need an appointment or to ask or whatever. So feel free to just drop in. For me, that's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 to 8 in the morning, which I know is early, but I also know you don't have class then. And that's when I can be here. So 7 to 8 and then 10 to 11. So right before this. Other times I'll be around in the afternoon some, but if you're planning to come by in the afternoon, send me an email first and make sure I'll be around. I'm happy to, work around and try to find other times we can meet if we need to. But again, those times, feel free to just drop in. And, obviously, like I went to school for a really long time and it took me a really long time to figure out that like when people tell you their office hours, like they want you to come ask questions if you have them. So like, don't feel, intimidated or unwelcome or like you're bugging me or anything like that. Just make use of that, especially if there's stuff that you need help with. Okay, other just kind of important stuff. Required materials for this class is going to be access to my math lab. So that's got an electronic copy of your textbook, and that's where we'll do all our homework. So you should have that. I think somebody this morning said that you just get a code for that from Slingshot. You don't know? I don't know either. Okay, I don't know. It's just an access code. I don't know if they still give you they used to give you a little cardboard like booklet thing that had like a scratch off thing. I don't know if you still get that or if you just get the code in the Slingshot thing, but whatever. If you have trouble figuring that out over the next couple of days, let me know. Apparently I can't touch this part of the thing where it breaks. That's a fun thing for me to learn. Okay. What was I going to say about that? There is a temporary access thing though, so you can get in right away. So if you don't have books yet, you can go ahead and jump in. That gets you in for like 3 weeks or something. So if you're still waiting on books, you don't get behind. First homework assignment will be due a week from today. So we want to get on that kind of as soon as possible. And again, I'll check back in a couple of days and see how we're doing or if anybody needs help with that. To get into my math lab, there's a link in Blackboard. So just go to my Blackboard course, look in the like left-hand side. That's not left for you. Left-hand side, there's my math lab link. You just click on that and then click like course home and it takes you into register and do all that kind of stuff. Again, if you have trouble, let me know. You grew up with the internet, so I assume you can probably figure it out. But if there are any issues, just tell me. Okay, cool. Bunch of stuff you should learn, et cetera, et cetera. Grade breakdown. So again, homework is in my math lab, so it's electronic. I know doing math homework on a computer is, has some drawbacks. I assume you've had some experience with that anyway at this point, but the nice part is that you can get feedback right away. You don't have to wait for me to grade stuff. The main point of that, I mean, it is graded, it's 10% of the grade, which is not a huge chunk, but is should be, if you're putting in the time, should be a nice, way to kind of help boost things up a little bit. The main point though is to, practice and to really learn the concepts. The assignments in there are labeled as practice to hopefully kind of reinforce that idea, but you learn math by doing math, speaking as someone who's done a lot of math. Watching me do it is, a lot of fun, but only kind of takes you so far, right? So we'll spend plenty of time in class, with you guys doing work as well. But the homework assignments, that's what that's really there for, to make sure you got things kind of locked in. You can work problems as many times as you want, right or wrong. So you get it right, you can do I think the thing says similar exercise and changes numbers and whatever. But so you can do another one, make sure that you've really got the idea down. I would encourage you to use that, right, rather than try to be optimistic about it and look for the benefits rather than just homework is a drag. Like, I get that too, but yeah. And then basic idea is that stuff for test one will all be kind of due at test one, right? So again, some details there. Quizzes, we'll have quizzes sometimes. Might announce them in advance, I might not. I'll probably tell you, give you at least some warning most of the time. Tests, we got 4 tests. The dates are on here. The only reason those would move is if campus is closed because of a hurricane or something like that. So otherwise, those dates will stay in place. So check those and make sure that they're on your calendar. The final exam also, that's scheduled by the university. I don't set that time. That's a whole complicated kind of thing for how they schedule those. Apparently that's Thursday, December 8th at 10:30. So make sure you're here Thursday, December 8th at 10:30. Makeup policy stuff that applies to school sponsored stuff. So athletics, band, whatever that you might be traveling for. Just make sure to, again, check especially test dates against that. And if there's any conflicts, let me know as soon as possible. A bunch of other stuff. Electronic device, I expect you to be paying attention in class. So laptops and headphones and stuff should be put away. But academic integrity, don't cheat, and all of our lives will be much better. And then the last couple of things I wanted to mention are just disability services. If there's any special accommodations that you have for any reason, just let me know as soon as possible, so we can get that sorted out and make sure you have what you need to be successful. And then the non-discrimination policy section. No one should be discriminated against for any reason ever, ideally, but the thing we can control is on campus, right? So if you have any issues or questions or whatever, if there are things you need to talk to me about, then come talk to me. If not, Philip Mucklebenny is our Title IX coordinator. His contact stuff is right there. His office is in the student center building. What's that building called now? Where the bookstore and cafeteria, that building. Just student center. Okay. It's creative. Okay. I mean, I prefer that to Strom Thurmond, but anyway, I'm getting off track. You guys don't even know it used to have a different name. Anyway, you should read through this stuff. If you have questions about things, you should let me know. A lot of it we're going to pick up along the way, of course, right? So again, me reading it at you isn't all that useful, but there's kind of an idea of what a typical week is going to look like, right? Typical, because they aren't all like this, but we have class Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So this is a 4-hour course, which is good. We get a little extra time in the classroom, which we'll mostly use for practicing and working and stuff like that. You doing stuff. But basic idea is going to be that if you look at the schedule, this week we're going to cover 1.2 and 2.1. So the homework assignments for 1.2 and 2.1 that we cover this week will be due midnight Monday, a week from today, right? So you have the week, you have the weekend, you have Monday then, and they're due at the end of Monday, like 11:59 p.m. Monday, to, last minute questions, come to office hours, tutoring, whatever, that day to, make sure you get everything kind of finished up and submitted. Okay. That does not mean that you come to office hours on Monday and say like, hey, can you explain like all of last week to me, right? But, more like, hey, number 17 was weird. Can we talk about that? Does that make sense? All right. This, like a lot of things, you're going to, get out of it what you put into it. So that's the basic idea. Weeks that are weird, like the first week of September, when Labor Day happens on a Monday, this will be due on Tuesday instead, right? So basic idea is like end of the first day of class that we're back, right? That makes sense? Okay. Okay, cool. Again, I'll certainly the first couple of weeks, I'll remind you about like due dates of stuff coming up, just while you kind of get into the swing of things. Only other thing I wanted to say about homework stuff is that like I live in the world too, and I teach math classes, and like I know about Photomath and Mathway and like all of the cool high-tech ways you can cheat at math homework. Like if you're going to do that on homework, like I can't really do anything about it. Like you're not going to get in trouble for, cheating on your online homework. You shouldn't do it, but that's between you and God and your future self, I guess. I encourage you though, not to, because what happens, and I see this every semester, certainly the last couple of years, is that, somebody, all their homework assignments, 100%, they get them done in 20 minutes. Like, wow, that's really fast. I can't do it that fast, but okay, good. Like good for you. And then test rolls around and it's bad, right? You didn't learn anything, and the test counts for like a whole lot more than the homework does, right? Like the homework, I don't okay, throw the homework in the trash and you can still make an A in class. Use it as a way to learn the stuff, not as something to get through, right? The grade part of that, I mean, yeah, it helps a little bit, but it doesn't really matter that much. But use it as an opportunity to learn. You're in this class for a reason. I didn't put you here. Someone else decided you needed to know what was in here, right? Either for a prereq, because you got to take more math classes, or something in your major that, means working with numbers at some point, or some kind of quantitative thinking or whatever. But like something put you here, you would be best off by, getting something out of it, because that kind of thing catches up to you, right? If you, cheat on all your homework assignments and manage to scrape through a C and get credit for the class, like what happens when you get to pre-cal? Like it's not easier, right? Or, the chemistry class in your major that you need math for, like that's not going to be easier either, right? So like there's a reason you're here. I encourage you to try to get the most out of it. Yeah. And the other thing is that, especially if this is like first semester of college, like I know people are probably going to say this at you a lot, but maybe you'll hear part of it. Speaking as someone whose first semester of college went about as badly as it possibly could, 1.5 GPA, 7 credit hours earned. Those are not good stats. Like that's my first semester of college, right? That cost me a whole bunch of money. And it meant for the next 3.5 years, I had to grind to graduate on time, right? So I encourage you to not make my own mistakes, or not make my same mistakes, right? It's, on one hand, like it's all part of the plan, and like I learned a lot, and now I'm good at working hard and like whatever. But at the same time, like don't put yourself through stuff you don't have to put yourself through, right? Okay, so when we'll say stuff like try to listen to them, I guess. I mean, you gotta like live your own life, I guess. But Paul writes a lot about, making the most of our circumstances. And in 1 Corinthians 10:31, I think, it says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, right? Let's focus on that part. Whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. It writes elsewhere about, working as though for God rather than for, human supervisors or human masters or whatever. Like that's the main relationship that you should focus on, right? Or come to focus on, and a big part of the transition from high school to college, especially if that's where you are, right? If that's your stage in life right now, like, hi, I'm Ryan, this is my first day of college. The thing that you got to figure out is that from today until like forever, what happens and what you make of your life is pretty much just up to you. Like it's your responsibility. You can like be mad at me if things don't go the way you want them to, but it wasn't really my fault, right? You can be mad at your parents, you can be mad at whoever else, and like that's fine, that's human nature. But ultimately, like it's up to you what you do from here on. So I just encourage you to try to keep that in mind and try to treat this semester, but this class, this time that you're in college, all of it, as an opportunity to grow and to get better and to do things that matter for more than just getting the piece of paper and making the money later. I put on the top of the syllabus Esther 4:14, which is one of my favorite passages. If you don't know that story, Esther's an Israelite woman, and she marries the king of Persia, right? So she's now queen of Persia. Persia's like they're the superpower in the Middle East or the Near East at the time. And she finds out about this plan that this bad guy, mustache twirling villain Haman has to kill all the Israelites, right? He's going to wipe out God's chosen people. And her uncle Mordecai comes to her and he says, like, you can stop this, right? You have the king's ear, you have his trust, you can stop this. And she says, well, no, I'm not allowed to just go talk to him, right? I can't just go bring this up on my own. He can have me killed. That's not how things work. And what Mordecai tells her is like, well, you're right. It's scary, it's hard. And ultimately what's going to happen is that God's plan is going to be fulfilled. Like God has shown time and time again throughout the Old Testament, throughout the story, that he's going to protect his people, right? He got them through the wilderness, even though they were screw ups, even though they didn't listen. He got them through 40 years in the wilderness. He got them through, all kinds of attacks by neighboring countries and all this stuff. He's going to take care of his people. It doesn't have to involve you or your family, right? You have free will. You can choose to sit this one out. It doesn't have to be because of you, but this is 4:14. Maybe you're here for just such a time as this, right? Maybe you are exactly where you're supposed to be because there's something for you to do, right? Again, like I was in college for a long time and I was always looking ahead to, finishing the semester, finishing my degree, going to grad school, finishing grad school, getting a job, right? So I could like be a real human, right? And actually do something. And I, think back on like, I wonder how much I missed along the way because that's the thing I was focused on, right? So, I would just encourage you to try to keep that in mind and try to look for, what you can do in the day-to-day and don't treat everything like, we're all always kind of in a season of waiting, right? But try not to let that be the only thing you're focused on, right? Try to, get the most out of every day. Jesus said in Matthew, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Seek first the kingdom and basically like survive today, right? Survive in advance. So yeah, I would just, encourage you to kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to say a quick word of prayer for us. I hope you'll join me, and then we'll talk about some math stuff. Father, we are thankful for the opportunity to be here today. Thankful to have this time to come together and learn some stuff and hopefully grow and get better over the course of the semester. Thankful for a place like CSU where we can do that and do the academic stuff, but also be able to talk about you and hopefully in a meaningful way, in a way that teaches us something. Bless our efforts this semester. Turn favor on us. Help this to help everything that we do in this class and on this campus and in the coming year to just be a pleasing offering to you. Help it to be something that helps to build the kingdom. And help us to keep in mind always the sacrifice that you've given us and the grace and the mercy you show to us every day. Help us to be a little more like Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Okay, I think I've said all the things I need to say. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, cool. I have a quick thing for us as a, kind of first day kind of thing. So grab, phone, laptop, whatever, Socrative.com. And there's a login button. You want student because you're a student. It'll ask you for a code. This is that code to get you into the thing. The thing that I should start because I haven't yet. Okay, so that should be running now. Again, this is just kind of a quick, get to know a little bit more about you sort of thing. Everybody have one of these? Yeah, they moved the classrooms like Friday or something. Yes. That'll be running till like the end of class. No, I'll kill it. But we're going to start doing some actual math unless anybody has any final questions or anything about like administrative stuff at this point. Okay, cool. So we're going to start doing some math. Like I said, we're going to spend a lot of our math time with you doing math. Not like I'm going to do math too. We're all going to do math. Everybody's going to do math, but just watching me is not really all that productive. So I want you guys to get into groups of 4 or 5 if necessary. Move stuff around. I'm really anticipating these weird table things, but that's fine. Sit so you can face each other, and also so you don't have to like full on turn around and lose the desk space or whatever to look up here. So try to turn things to the side. Take a couple minutes, rearrange furniture, introduce yourself, meet the people around you. You're not like stuck with them forever, but it's nice to know. Move if you need to. You almost certainly need to. Probably won't need a calculator today, no. So in my 8 o'clock class this morning, I did, what I just did, like walked around and counted papers with my fingers and with people. And literally the first group of people I walked over to, there were 4 of them. And I did that and I handed them 3 sheets of paper. And like a minute later, they're like, hey, do we have another one? I was like, oh, so literally the first time I had to do anything close to math this semester, I screwed it up. Okay, that really bodes well for the rest of the semester. Okay. So basically, the sort of through line for college algebra, pre-cal, all the way through calculus is the idea of a function, right? Just how 2 things relate to each other. And we're going to spend the next few days kind of ironing out some details and figuring out like what exactly that means, but starting now. So our goal for today is to kind of work through like the top half of the first page here, and this like example number 1. So just kind of so you know, I'm gonna hand you something like this basically every day. Every day we're covering like new stuff. There's some notes, there's some examples. I don't mean this to be the only thing that you do. I don't mean it to be the only thing that you write down or keep track of. If you look at the stuff that's actually here, margins are pretty tight, right? I'm trying to, balance saving the earth and teaching you stuff. So I don't mean this to be like the only thing you do. I would suggest, having a notebook alongside this and writing some stuff down, because it's going to be a lot easier 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now to figure out what was going on if you, wrote it down in like a clear, well spaced out way instead of trying to cram it into a margin. So there's also a QR code here that takes you to a graph that has some stuff, so you might want to fire that up too. Okay, so y'all take the next 10 minutes, something like that. I'll be kind of floating around checking on you and stuff. Try to work through the stuff here, talk to each other. Some of this stuff might look, real basic to you. That's okay. But try to, think through it and figure out like what I'm maybe going for. And if it does feel like it's easy to you, maybe try explaining it to somebody else. Because the best way to check if you actually know something is if you can explain it to somebody else in a way that they actually understand, right? So yeah, listen to each other, talk to each other, help each other. Let me know if you have questions for me. Or maybe, sorry, maybe slide over here. So you guys know. And don't worry for right now about, trying to like write things down the right way or pick the right, symbols or notation or whatever. It's not about that. Figure out the idea.
And you want us to write it down?
Do what?
Do you want us to write down the idea?
Oh, I don't care. That's your, we do it the visual way. Yeah.
We need to turn it like our own shit.
No, you're not gonna turn it into anything. So yeah, that's for you to keep. So you can write down whatever you think you might want to know later, but. Yeah, we'll get You guys doing okay? Okay. Okay. You okay with seven? South Carolina, those one. Okay. You guys ready to start? Yeah, okay. All right. Let's talk about things a little bit then. Okay, so suppose you have a job that pays you $12 an hour, and that part's, fixed, right? So, short of like getting a raise or whatever, you get paid $12 an hour. That's the rule we're operating under, whatever. Jillian, Sarah, Travis, Landon, the only people whose names I know at this point. There's a Ryan and a Brian somewhere, but I don't remember which was which. If you get paid $12 an hour, if you know how much you work, how do you figure out what ought to be on your paycheck? Okay, so take the $12 per hour and multiply by the number of hours that you worked. Why? Okay, this is the like, can you explain it to somebody else part of things, right? So like you just do, right? That's not really an explanation, right? I get it. Like we all have, some intuition about that, but why is it that we multiply those things? How much do you pay for working 1 hour? $12. Okay, 2 hours would be because it's 12 and then another 12, right? So what are you doing there? Adding, right? And what is multiplication? It's one way to look at it as a shortcut for adding a bunch of times, right? Okay, so multiply. Just like as an operation, as a process, right? Multiply. If you had like a chemistry class or some sciences, you see it there too, where if you take like number of hours and multiply by dollars per hour, what happens to the units? You're multiplying and dividing by hours, so you're left with dollars, right? Okay, so you can kind of see it, that way too, if that helps you. Okay. Ryan and Ryan's group. Can you write a formula that would do this for you? Right. So at this point, we said like, okay, if I work 10 hours, then how much I should get paid is 12 times 10, right? 120. Okay. Can we write a formula that does that for us? What's the difference there when we talk about like writing it as a formula?
would be 12 X.
Okay, what's X?
X is the hours worked.
Okay, so introduce a variable, right? Put in some kind of a letter to stand in for the thing, because I don't want to only find out how much I should get paid when I work 10 hours. I want, sort of a dummy stand in for it, right? So let X be the number of hours worked. Okay. And then what we want to do is multiply that by 12, right? So how can we write that down? 12 times X, or often we just write 12X, right? With kind of the understanding that if I take two numbers and just mush them together like that, what I mean is multiply, right? Okay, so 12 times X. And what does 12 times X tell us? What does that, process, that operation sort of spit out? Because that's what a formula does, right? You put some stuff in, it spits out an answer for you, right?
$12 for the hour you work.
Yeah, that's $12 for every hour you work, times the number of hours that you worked. So what that gives you back as like an answer or result is how much you should get paid, right? So that's equal to how much you get paid. Well, name that something too, right? What do you want to call that? Okay, how about P for paycheck? Dollar amount on paycheck. Okay. And obviously, like we're simplifying things a little bit, right? We're not worried about taxes or Social Security withholding or whatever. But so 12 times X, X is the number of hours that you worked, is equal to P. P is the amount on your paycheck. Of course, those labels don't matter, right? Doesn't matter if we used X or T or H or whatever. It doesn't matter that we used P, as long as one, they're different because they stand for different things, right? And two, we know what they mean, right? So if you were like writing this down, because what you write down is you communicating to another person, right? Often me. So if I were like defining this from scratch, something along these lines where I'm actually like declaring what the variables stand for is helpful in someone else understanding what you're saying, right? Okay, it's also helpful in keeping in sort of the front of your mind, like what these things actually represent, right? Okay, so 12 times X is equal to P. P is the amount of the paycheck. X is the number of hours that worked. Again, the operation that's happening, the process is multiplication. Saying that these things are equal means they're the same, right? So this formula that we've written down shows us, in like math terms, how these two things are related, right? The number of hours that you worked and the amount that you get paid. All right, somebody else. C asks us, how much would you get paid for working 25 hours? Why? 12 times 25, $300, right? That's the answer, right? 300. You get paid $300. How do I use this new formula that we just made to sort of answer the question that's being asked about how much you can pay when you work 25 hours? What is 25 hours in terms of this thing? That's a value for this, right? It's the number of hours, so it's a value for this. So one way I could look at this is say, what is P when X is 25, right? So what we do then is, I've got this formula, P equals 12X. I can plug in or evaluate that formula for the X value 25, right? The whole point of doing the formula in the first place, was to have a thing that shows the relationship without having to like treat it like a whole new thing every time the number of hours changes, right? This is to sort of like automate things a little bit, right? We're building a machine that does the work for us. So what I would do then is plug in 25 for X. And then once you do that, the formula, tells you exactly what you need to do, right? It says, okay, well, the P, the thing you want is 12 times 25. So now I've changed it from a sort of abstract, like how much do I get paid when I work 25 hours? Okay, figure out the rules and how they're related and the whole thing. Now it's just do this arithmetic, right? We've changed it from a sort of high level thinking thing to a what's multiplication, like fourth grade arithmetic question, right? It's something that we're more familiar with. 12 times 25 is 300. And I don't mean to say that in like a, you shouldn't need a calculator for this. That's not what I mean. Don't hear me saying that, right? You want a calculator to multiply, that's cool. Use a calculator. But this is the thing that tells me exactly what I need to do rather than trying to have to figure out what I need to be doing. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so what if the question was, how many hours would you need to work to earn this thing is touchy. You're on the edges of your seat. Oh, how many dollars is he going to ask us to earn? How many hours would you have to work in order to earn $240? 240. This is super. Back. Okay, I've heard from a bunch of places 20, right? Why 20? Right, so again, 20 is the answer, right? Divided by the amount you make per hour, right? Okay, now again, like we probably have pretty good intuition about like figuring that out, right? Everybody feel pretty comfortable like figuring out an answer to that? Okay, so 20, you divide. Why do we divide them? What did we need to do to go the other way? If I started with the number of hours and wanted to figure out how much I was going to make, we multiplied. If I started with how much I need to make and wanted to figure out the number of hours we needed to divide, because division and multiplication are related, right? They're the same thing. They're just going opposite directions, right? It's the same operation, just sort of going one way or the other. Same way addition and subtraction are related, right? They're not really different. There's different directions. Okay. Well, I could also use my little formula that we built to do this, right? What's 240? X or P? P. Okay, so if I replace P with 240 and write down the rest of my little formula that we made, it says 240 equals 12 times X. Now, it's not quite the same because we're going the other direction as the last one, right? The last one, we wrote it down and it said, right off the bat, like, well, take these two numbers and multiply them and you're done, right? Now we're looking for a thing that we don't know, right? I don't know X, I'm trying to find it, but what do we do to find it? Get it by itself. The way you get it by itself is getting this thing away from it. The way you get this thing away from it is doing the opposite, right? 12 times X, we got to do the opposite thing. 12X divided by 12 is X. Okay, cool. That's what we wanted to find, right? That's the unknown thing that we needed. 240 divided by 12, again, no shame in getting out a calculator, is 20, right? Okay, so this is more like solving, right? But again, it's these two things, these two numbers that are related. How much you worked, how much you get paid, right? And what this, formula that we've built, this P equals 12X thing or whatever, does is show us exactly how those are related. Now, on one hand, we're going from an X value that we know to a P value that we don't. Or on the other hand, we're going from a P value that we know to an X value that we don't, right? So one direction, we might think of as more like plugging in or evaluating. The other, what we just did here, we'd usually call like solving, right? Because we're finding an unknown thing that we didn't know already. But again, it runs through taking this formula, this rule that we have written down, replacing one of the pieces and finding the other one that goes with it, right? That's going to be, these two sort of faces of that same idea is going to be a major, theme. Like that's, I don't know, 90% of what we're going to do is this, just in, different specific cases. Okay. All right. So we'll pick up there tomorrow and talk more details. Hang on to the notes. You don't need to do anything else. Just make sure you're good to go. And, maybe read through like the top half of that first page again. We'll pick up there tomorrow. Stuff you do need to do between now and tomorrow. Log into Blackboard and, look around in my class, make sure you can find everything. Read the syllabus, read the schedule. Let me know if you have any questions. If you can get into my math lab, go ahead and do that. We'll pick up there tomorrow. Y'all have a good day. I'll see you then.